Everybody, welcome back to the Us on Everything podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Wayne.
What up, Uncle Gandhi?
So today is one of my favorite times of the year. It is bold. I won't even call it bold predictions. I would say it is just college football predictions. Everybody's doing it. It is one of my favorite times of the year. I like to hear what people have to say. We're going to get right to it. We're basically going to cover the Power 5 conferences today, guys. So the smaller conferences, unfortunately, I don't really have, it's not that I don't have love for the smaller conferences. I most definitely do. But we're here to talk about who is going to make it to the college football playoff. Before we get into that, two things I want to talk about very, very quickly. One, did you see what I sent you earlier about them voting on expanding the college football playoff?
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to pass.
No, I don't think it's going to pass. One, it's too many teams. They are voting on 12 teams on Friday.
Yeah.
I believe it's the commissioner or the ADs for each Power 5 conference, and I believe it's the Power 5 conference collective, like the group of people that basically call the shots of who's going to get in the playoff. They're voting on 12 teams. I definitely think that's way too many. Expanding it by, maybe one game so another two teams get in, I think that's perfectly fine. But if we go to 12, basically it devalues the college playoff system in general. And it will basically be a SEC versus Big Ten, featuring maybe two other conferences, maybe a Pac-12 or maybe an ACC. But I definitely feel like it would dilute the season and the meaningful games that are to come throughout the season. So
I actually think they should make it 10 teams.
10? Okay, so two extra.
Each team gets two.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That way you play the balance of power.
Right.
Right. And then each team gets two. I mean, your seeding is based off ranking.
Right.
With and you can't be below the top four if you win your conference.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I could see that. I think that's better than what they're asking for currently. I think what they're asking for is complete wash. And it'll completely dilute the system as far as the scheduling, the non-conference scheduling and stuff like that. Like none of that will matter because you could lose to Alabama like a Texas. That would be like a prime position for Texas, right? You lose to Alabama, you maybe lose to Oklahoma, but you win all the rest of your games. If you have a strong enough record, you can still possibly get in there. And so I just don't think that although I would want that to happen, I mean, being a Texas fan, I still think it's trash and I don't think it's going to pass like you said. But speaking of trash, let's talk about week 0. Let's specifically the Northwestern versus Nebraska game. Over the weekend, the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Northwestern Wildcats played a football game in Ireland, which was actually pretty dope. I liked how they did that.
Why was it Ireland? That was kind of random.
I mean, they're basically trying to expand the the college football experience, which it definitely gave off college football experience vibes. A lot of fans traveled. I thought that was pretty dope. However,
actually, Ireland makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. College football, lots of drinking. Ireland is a very drinking friendly country. That actually makes a lot of sense. That was smart.
Right. I want to talk about Nebraska, in general, but
before you talk about, did you watch the game?
Yeah, I watched the whole game.
See, at one point, it was either the machines or the machines to pay and stuff.
Right.
Like we're down. The internet was down or something.
They gave free liquor.
This is why Ireland is the best place to go.
It just gave everybody got free liquor, which was dope.
Yeah.
Well, free free beer.
Free beer. Which
Everybody
is still dope. Like,
still dope.
Man.
If you went over there and you
over free beer.
I don't want to spend $8 on a 20-ounce beer, you got it for free if you was in Ireland. So major shouts out to them. Hopefully they do that again next year. That would be dope. Hopefully they get a better quality of team, like bigger teams. I would like to see something like that. I think that would be dope. But either way, I was happy because it was football. However, the Nebraska Cornhuskers lost in true Nebraska fashion. So let me reflect on what happened earlier in the week, because this is it bothered me a lot, because at one point in time, like, I was a big Casey Thompson fan, big time Casey Thompson fan. Former quarterback at the University of Texas, so happened to go into the transfer portal over the year during the offseason, even though there is no offseason in college football now, and basically said, hey, I'm going to go to Nebraska. I kind of think he knew that there was something going on. Maybe he heard whispers about Quinn coming. I think he had a legitimate shot to start. That was just me. And I was caping for him definitely after the end of the year. Like, hey, maybe he comes back. He had a banged up hand. He messed up his thumb. And I was thinking maybe he comes back, because he did phenomenal against Oklahoma for the first half. I'm thinking he comes back, that's his job to lose. But he left. So he went to Nebraska in the week, last week rather. He got asked about the University of Texas, which was weird. His response was weird. And he said that basically that Nebraska had a better receiving core than the University of Texas.
Can you name one Nebraska receiver?
No, I cannot.
Okay, me neither. Okay, cool. I was just checking.
So Casey Thompson put up some decent numbers. I think he put up almost 400 yards of passing. He had a crazy play where he kind of threw it off his back foot, and threw a strike to a receiver. Again, I don't know who that receiver is. I'm not going to pretend like I do. But he threw a strike. It looked good. It was a crazy play. Twitter went nuts, right? Mm-hmm. Like Twitter like was deciphering that game, the entire game.
Oh yeah, they were all over it.
Western Nebraska, like everybody was deciphering this game, right? So we get to the end of the game. Casey Thompson has the opportunity to win the game. They're down by 3. And he throws an interception, and the game over.
In true Casey Thompson fashion. Yep.
Yeah, because we've seen this before. Being a Texas fan, we have seen this before.
For 6 games in a row. Yep, we saw it.
Right. So Casey Thompson loses the game. He throws an interception. They lose the game. They come in a couple of days later after the fact. So we get to this week 1. And they ask him about the University of Texas and about his comments. And he says that he will no longer answer questions about the University of Texas. And to me,
I wouldn't either. If I looked that stupid, I wouldn't answer any questions.
I thought it was real immature, because he left the University of Texas.
Yep.
And I don't know why he would talk trash about a school he once went to and was doing fairly well until he got injured. But to say that the Nebraska Cornhusker receiving core is better than the University of Texas, that's complete dog shit. I'll just throw it out there very clear. And I don't know. I just thought it was stupid of him to say that. And I thought it was even worse for him to backpedal on the comments that he made about the University of Texas after the loss. I just thought it made him look kind of like, I can't get behind a player like that. Like, don't ask me about the University of Texas. Well, you brought the University of Texas into it when you said that their receivers are better than your previous school. So don't do that. I hope he learns from that and he doesn't do that anymore. Definitely think he has the capability, especially the way the game is being played in transition to the NFL. Definitely think he has an opportunity to make it into the NFL. But
really,
yeah, I think so.
I think he has zero chance to make it to the NFL.
I think he can. I think if he maybe, I mean, we got to look at it this way. We don't just have the NFL anymore. You got the Canadian Football League, you got the XFL, you got the USFL. You can sharpen your skills that way, and then possibly transition up. We've seen it already in the preseason already.
Sure,
where people have gone to the USFL. Made major moves there and then transition up to the NFL and they shine. So hopefully, those players that did make it from the USFL, one of those guys being on the Dallas Cowboys, hopefully they do get an opportunity to shine and go from there. But enough of that.
Well, I didn't say my piece. Huh?
Did you have anything on week 0?
Yeah, Casey Thompson should learn how to throw to his receivers for more than 48 minutes. Actually, for more than 24 minutes, because that's really all he did it for. I'm going to talk about the glitz and glory. Like, he was killing it in the first half.
Yeah,
and then
he had some very good.
Yeah, I thought he was doing really well. And the second half came, and Casey Thompson himself out of the football game.
Right.
So if the guy can't even do it for 48 minutes in college, what makes you think he could do it for 60 or 50 minutes in another league? Hey, here's the thing. I got no problem with Casey Thompson. My problem is I just don't think he's good enough. Like, I don't think he has the skill set. Again, he could play in the USFL where, receivers start their routes from like 15 yards out and they motion in for like 28 yards and then they do whatever the hell they do. Like, I don't know what they do. Oh, that's the Canadian Football League where motions. Yeah. I mean, and I don't even know if he could still throw to the guy for, consistent 4 quarters. Like, my problem with Casey Thompson is he can't play a full football game. I've never seen him play a complete football game. Right. And he's now been a starter for how many weeks, including last week? 15?
Well over 10.
Yeah. Like, I get the injury. I understand, like, blah, 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 blah. We'll see what happens to the rest of this year. I don't expect Nebraska to win more than 4 games. Scott Frost, Jack Frost, Dumb Frost. I don't know what the hell his name is.
I don't know how that man has a job on.
That dude sucks. That dude can't coach for shit.
He kicked an onside field, or he kicked an onside ball.
He was up when he did that, right?
When they had the lead.
Yeah.
So you give Northwestern the opportunity, because Northwestern gashed it for a lot of running yard. Like,
their quarterback isn't that good either. Northwestern's quarterback.
I mean, but he looked phenomenal against against Nebraska.
For shit. I mean, I'm sure a lot of teams would look good against Nebraska.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I don't even think you can get Scott Frost. I don't think Scott Frost could paint a wall perfectly if you showed him a YouTube video. Like, I think he's that stupid. Like, I don't know. I don't know how this guy still has a job. He's not a good recruiter. He can't coach. I don't know I don't know what he did at UCF. I don't know I don't know, but that dude, man, he's horrible.
Scott Frost, I don't know how that man has a job. I'll tell you this. If this was anybody else of color, and I hate to bring race into it, but if this was a black coach, that coach would have been gone. Would have been able to get on the team plane. They would have gave him a, hey, here's a first-class ticket back to Nebraska. Matter of fact, I think they give him a first-class ticket. It's a long way from Ireland. But, here's a first.
Oh, it is Ireland. That's right. Yeah, it's
from Ireland. Don't even worry about coming back to the school. We'll send all of your stuff to your house.
Right.
We'll pack everything up, make sure you got everything.
Yeah.
It was nice to have you guys, come through and coach, but we're going to move in a different direction. So moving right on, we're going to move on to the picks. We're going to go from ACC to ACC to Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12, SEC. We're going to go in that order. We're going to choose the matchup. We're going to talk about who we have as a matchup. And then from that point, we're going to choose a conference. And then we'll get into the playoffs and ultimately who we feel is going to win the national championship this year. So,
Ooh, okay.
starting with the ACC, Uncle Gandhi, who you got?
I mean, probably the weakest conference out of all of them.
Think so?
Of the Power Five, yeah, easily.
Okay.
I don't know. Can I just flip a coin and say, I mean, I guess I'll pick Clemson. I don't really like Galele all that much. Again, just a guy who was super overhyped when he got there. We'll see how he kind of pans out.
Right.
If there was a team that I'm kind of interested in, it might be Miami.
Right.
I think that guy, the quarterback that I learned his name the other day. I think he's actually.
You're mute, bro.
Oh, my bad. I pushed the wrong button. If there's, I was gonna say the guy from Miami. If there was a guy I was remotely interested in, it might be him. I think he could be like a late round draft or late round draft pick next year.
Right.
So I'll take Miami versus Clemson.
Okay.
And I'll take Miami.
You're gonna take Miami
Yeah.
to win
the ACC. Yeah,
okay.
Why not? Let's do something. Do something different because we know who you're gonna pick. So we'll do something different.
Well, okay. So I'm going with in the ACC championship. I'm going Clemson versus Pittsburgh. The reason why I'm going with Pittsburgh is because I feel like they have, to me, outside of Clemson, they have the most returning starters, right? So when you have those returning starters, especially on the outside of Kenny Pickett, right?
And Jordan Addison, who went to USC, and they lost Brennan Marion, one of the coaches, and they lost their offensive coordinator.
I'm still going with Pittsburgh. Going with Pittsburgh. They have outside of Clemson, they have their most returning starters outside of Clemson. I think Clemson's defense will take a step up. I also believe that DJ Uiagalelei, he has lost quite a bit of weight. I think I don't want to say that he didn't take his first year serious. Now, what we fail to realize is like Clemson won 10 games last year. They won 10 games last year. They went 10-2. But I think with the experience of having a returning quarterback, I think that plays a big difference with the Big Ten, with the ACC. And I think having that quarterback there, that anchor, and having that experience plays a big difference. So I'm picking the ACC champion to be the Clemson Tigers. So,
wow, that was shocking, dude. Man, that was like one of the most shocking things I've ever heard you say.
Anyway, moving right along, we're gonna move on to the Pac-12. So the Pac-12, who you got? Tell me what you got.
I'm just gonna pick USC to win the whole thing. I don't really care who they play.
Oh wow. Okay,
they could play anybody. I don't care who they play. USC is gonna win the Pac-12.
So this was the one.
Even Utah. Like I'm taking USC.
He's taking USC. So who I have in the championship, I have USC versus Utah.
Yeah.
I think USC has the most talent out of the Pac-12, of course. Yep. However, I think that's going to take a little bit of time to gel the way they want to become that powerhouse. Again, I'm picking Utah to win the Pac-12 because of Cam Rising, a returning quarterback. They have more returning starters than anybody in the Pac-12. I believe they have like 22 people coming back on offense and defense. So that to me is a big deal. Cam Rising at the end of the year, he showed really good promise. He did really good in his ball game. So because of that, I'm gonna roll with Utah to basically win the Pac-12.
I think my thing about Cam Rising, the reason why I pick USC is, they don't have the return. Technically, they have a returning quarterback. He's just wearing a different uniform. right? And the way I think about it, Lincoln Riley's bringing his guys. It's like they
Right.
just went. It's like they're going camping and they
Yeah.
got bored, and so they decided to like, unpack it all in L.A. and chill, and they're just gonna
Right.
chill there forever. I think Mario Williams is better than homeboy Cameron Rising.
Right.
I think they have an outstanding receiving core.
They do.
You've got Jordan Addison. You've got the guy that Texas should have kept that doesn't know where he ever wants to go to school. Forgot his name. Brood McCoy.
Ruben McCoy is in Tennessee.
Of course he is. Yeah, the dude, like I just said, the dude that never knows where he wants to go to
He
school.
was at USC at one point. He was a little bit of, I want to say Ruben McCoy was at Ohio State initially. Then he came to Texas. Then he went to USC. Then he went to Tennessee. He went to USC, then Tennessee. I'm not sure. He's been all over the place except on the football.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I will say that. So yeah,
didn't they take their receiver to there too? They should have like Mario Williams, right?
Is it Mims or I forget?
No. They took another receiver when
But
they went.
Yeah, I think his name is Mims or something.
I'm not seeing it on the roster. You know, Malcolm Epps is their tight end.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Mario Williams, there he is. Mario Williams.
There we go.
Malcolm Epps, Jordan Addison. Like what? There's so many. Caleb Williams is gonna obviously be their quarterback.
Right.
And then they got that running back who's supposed to be he's like super fast. I don't know. There's this guy there. A buddy of mine is really big USC guy. And the more I looked at this roster, the more I was like, dang. And you know what? They had the best offensive coach in the country in Lincoln Riley.
He does know how to put some stuff together.
Yeah.
However, something about Mario Williams, like later in the year, he did do some crazy stuff. Like he did win. Of course, he won. They eventually Oklahoma benches Spencer Rattler, put in Caleb Williams. He wins the game, and he had some crazy games. I did watch a lot of Oklahoma football. He did have some crazy games, but he did also do a lot of crazy ills. He did some stuff that I would not do as a quarterback.
Sure.
Yeah. Leaving your feet with the ball in your hand in an open field. You don't want to do that. Trying to truck defensive backs. Now, don't get me wrong. He
was a freshman.
It wasn't smart.
Of course, but he was a freshman. He was just kind of thrown in there, and he was really nobody knew Mario Williams was going to come back and beat Texas, right? It was just basically like, go do whatever you want. Who cares? Let's just see what happens.
He had to lose basically at that point. Because they were down so much. Like
right.
It didn't.
Fucking Bijan Robinson was playing Madden on the goddamn field. And then they're like, you know what? Why don't you go play Madden too? And he was like, all right, cool. So that's what he did.
All right. So
yeah, I'll take USC.
You got USC. I got Utah. So now we're going to go into the Big Ten. I kind of struggled with this one.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
I struggled with it.
This is easy.
Then I guess I came to my senses.
Okay.
So for the Big Ten championship, I have Ohio State versus Wisconsin. Of course, like Ohio State might have the best receiving core. Like we talk about USC, right? Like USC is loaded.
Ohio State is loaded.
Ohio State they are fucking loaded.
Yeah.
I believe they're in wide receiver core whenever they become eligible to go to the NFL. If they all go, they're all going to get drafted probably within the first 50 picks in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're probably like, I don't remember the last time we saw all this wide receiver talent. Like within the last 3 years, we've had crazy wide receivers going everywhere. If like literally in every division of NFL football right now, there's a top 10 pick or a first round pick wide receiver on almost every roster. Almost.
Almost, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like
I was gonna say, I wish we had one of those guys, but we don't.
on
Have a good
almost
second round pick though. I'll take him.
yeah, on almost every roster, there's a like a first round talent at wide receiver. So again, I'm picking Ohio State to win. I just think that it's they're too loaded, man. It's just it's like the hardest game is going to be the end of the year, and if they do lose that game at the end of the year, they're still going to get into the Big Ten championship because at that point, I don't believe that I don't believe that Michigan is going to go undefeated, and I believe Ohio State will. And if they lose, they're going to just lose that one game. They're still going to get in based off of record alone, unless, somebody else. I don't think Michigan State's going to pull off what they did last year. I don't think they're going to pull that off again. I just think it's like Wisconsin and everybody else. And so the side where Ohio State and Michigan is, that's the loaded series because Ohio State and Michigan is over there. Other than that, I don't see anybody coming out. Maybe Penn State poses a threat. I don't know if does Ohio State play Penn State this year?
I'm checking right now. Let's take a look. Ohio State does play Penn State and Death Valley.
Okay. So
middle of the season.
They have two possible trips. Ohio State has Penn State to worry about because Penn State is probably a to be determined game. That's probably going to be at night.
Yep.
And then because anytime Penn State is ranked, they're gonna, if they have the opportunity to play at night in their favor, they're gonna probably play at night. And then Michigan, Ohio State, we know how that goes. It's any time of the year that is a toss-up. However, I think just this year alone, Ohio State is too talented at wide receiver. Man, I really wish that was played in a dome. Jesus Christ. The only thing that scares me about that is, again, if Michigan can run the ball like they did last year, I don't know about Ohio State's defense as far as run defense is concerned. I do know that their wide receiver core and they got a potential wide receiver, a potential Heisman candidate with CJ Stroud. I don't need to go on it anymore. Like, it's Ohio State. Look them up. Like, go and just look them up, and that'll tell you everything you need to know from there. Maurice, who you got?
I'll take Ohio State, and I don't think CJ Stroud's going to win the Heisman. I'll go to
bold prediction.
Oh, that's not my bold prediction.
Okay.
I'll give you my bold prediction when we get there.
Okay.
But that is not it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll take Ohio State. I actually think they'll play. Shit, I just lost it. I was just scrolling through here and I just lost it. I actually think they'll play Wisconsin, but I really like Minnesota. Minnesota is one of those small schools that I really like. I mean, I've been watching them a lot.
You're rolling the boat.
I really like their coach Flick.
Yeah,
I think that guy is super cool.
I don't think he's Peter Fleck. I don't think he's Peter Fleck. I forget what his name is.
Peter Fleck. That dude is. I think he's a phenomenal coach. Tanner Morgan is there.
He hasn't gotten a bigger job yet.
Yeah, I'm not saying Tanner Morgan's bad or good, but he is kind of that guy that's like the in-betweener that last year got hurt super early in the season. They lost really early. They were really highly ranked. I really like PJ Fleck. They have it's their running back, Mohamed Ibrahim, who tore his ACL. I remember it because that dude was supposed to be a beast. He'll be back this year. So I'm gonna keep an eye out for Minnesota. Okay. But I'm gonna say Wisconsin. Okay. And I think Ohio State blows Wisconsin out in the Big Ten championship, like 30-pointer. Like, I think they're gonna they're gonna don't even watch the game, just know that that's the game that's gonna happen. Like, I just think it's that. I don't. Ohio State is so loaded.
Yeah, they are. They're
especially at receiver. That's after losing Chris Olave and they lost 2 receivers
yeah,
and they're still stacked.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I'll take Ohio State.
Okay. So just a quick recap. In the ACC, I have Clemson, you have Miami.
Yep.
In the Big Ten, I got Ohio State, you have Ohio State. And then in the ACC, I'm sorry, and the
At
Pac
12.
you have Utah. I have no, I have Utah.
Yeah.
You have USC.
USC. There
So
we
many
go.
you just throwing me off. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're gonna get to the Big 12.
Okay.
The Big 12, who you got
Oklahoma State.
and who? Who do you have in a Big
Man,
12?
this is the tough one, right?
In the Big 12? Yeah, I struggle with this one too. But who do you have?
If I look at this today, and I reserve the right to change my feelings based off of how certain teams play over the next 3 to 4 weeks,
Right.
I'm going to say Oklahoma State beats Kansas State
What?
in the Big 12 championship.
What?
I'm buying the Kansas State hype, bro. I think Kansas State is I'm gonna buy stock in Kansas State. I've been hearing a lot about them. Obviously to me, they have the second best running back in the country with Deuce Vaughn. Obviously the best running back being none other than this guy right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Adrian Martinez, I think is going to thrive really well in this system. I think they actually had some pretty good moments last year.
Okay.
But, the coaching and kind of a young team. Yeah, I think Kansas State and Oklahoma State. I do reserve the right to change Kansas State to Texas. And I reserve the right to change it to Texas after I see Texas play the first 4 games.
Okay.
And I don't even, you know what? I don't even care about the Alabama game. Unless Texas beats, I'm expecting Texas to lose to Alabama by at least 30. I think they just get blown out. I just think Alabama's that good. Their defense is that good. It's too early in the season. I just don't think it's too early to really say, well, that's the game you need to use to see where Texas is at. Because basically, Alabama's up here and Texas is in like almost fucking Division II right now. So I don't think that's a good barometer. I think their first 4 games, see how they play, come back home and play against UTSA the next week after knowing whatever happens in that Alabama game, whether they get blown out by 30, lose a close one, or somehow, some way win that game.
Right.
The adversity and the pressure and just the angst from that game, right?
Right.
How they come back and play UTSA is going to be huge. Right. And then what they do, their first Big 12 Big 12 game, which I'm pretty sure is going to be a night game in Lubbock.
Okay.
So after those first four games, I reserve the right to change it to Texas. No, I'm not even thinking about Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma loses 6 games this year.
6?
Yeah. I don't think Oklahoma's that good, bro. Their quarterback is terrible.
You're predicting them to go 7-6.
6-6.
6-6.
Yeah.
Okay. That still makes them bowl eligible. So
I don't care. They can go to the fucking, Pinata Bowl. I don't really give a fuck. Like, I really don't care. But they're losing 6 games.
Okay. So that's what we're rolling with. So
yeah, Oklahoma State beats Kansas State.
Okay. So I struggle with this the most out of all of the picks. So I'm gonna roll with Baylor versus Oklahoma State. So what I'm thinking is this is what I'm thinking is gonna happen. let me give you guys a quick scenario. I'm thinking Texas, they lose 3 games. The last game of the
Oh,
year
wow.
against the last game of the year is Black Friday against Baylor. Baylor rolls into town, and somehow, some way, we see Texas revert back to the old ways of last year. Have they probably go into the half, probably up a couple touchdowns, maybe 2 touchdowns, maybe 10 points, maybe a costly turnover that Baylor commits, something that they don't really do that much anymore. They don't really turn the ball over that much anymore. But I could definitely see Texas going up 10, Baylor coming in, making the adjustments during halftime, and then straight up just outplaying Texas at the end, kick a field goal, win the game. That's a Big 12 game right there in a nutshell. That whoever wins that game between Texas and Baylor at the end of the year on November 26th November 27th is who goes to the Big 12 championship. So I got Baylor beating Texas at that last game, and then Baylor winning the Big 12.
So if they go 9-3, right? So they'll be 8-2 heading into that game.
Right.
What makes you think that they revert back to their old selves after going 8-2?
Because
And losing to who, by the way?
I have them losing to Alabama, of course, and I actually have them losing to Kansas State. Because Texas cannot see, like, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's in Kansas State. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
It's always been tough. It doesn't matter how good Texas has been, as long as I've been able to understand football, Texas has always had a hard time beating Kansas State in Kansas State. Like, they're going to Kansas State. It's going to be cold. It's probably going to be a morning game because they always do it that way. Texas will play Kansas State at like 11 in the morning. It's going to be cold as hell. And Kansas, it's in the middle of nowhere. And those teams have it doesn't matter what the record is. Kansas State has just always given Texas a hard time. And so I think that is a trip up. I actually think that they do beat Oklahoma this year. I think Oklahoma actually loses like 3, maybe even 4 games to trip up. Again, I just don't have the faith in a quarterback that Brent Venables went and decided to go and bring over from UCF or USF. I'm sorry.
That dude looks horrible.
I understand why they brought him over, right? Because their offensive coordinator was previously over at USF. And so it makes sense. Bring him over. He's familiar with the system. He's got the weapons. It's like, what are you going to do with the weapons? We had this conversation off air, but I just don't have the confidence that Brent Venables has with Oklahoma and with their receivers, with that quarterback. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe in a year or so, but I don't even think that quarterback's going to be there because they got that other kid that's supposed to be really, really good to start probably next year.
Malachi Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. I don't believe in Brett Venables. I don't know what it is. There's something that I do like Brett Venables. I just don't think he's going to be a fit in Oklahoma. And I don't think
Oklahoma for 15 years prior to him being at Clemson.
Yeah, it's different though. That's a different role.
Right.
It's being an assistant at a program or like being off on the sideline as like the 4th string water boy is a little bit different than being the head coach of a program. Right.
So it's a coordinator at Oklahoma.
That's fine. That's still that good. And how many good defenses has Oklahoma had in the last 10 years?
Not so
exactly. Bad. So that's very tricky. I don't think Brett Venables lasts there very long. They're a very offensive minded team. And Malachi Nelson with the defensive minded coach just doesn't fit right to me.
Right.
I think he'll end up decommitting by the end of the year and go somewhere else.
Where do you think he's gonna go?
Somewhere not named Oklahoma.
Okay.
And actually, believe it or not, Texas has won the last 6 games to Kansas State, including the last 2 in Kansas State.
but they've all been very, very difficult to pull off.
The last one was in 2020, and Texas won 69-31. And the one before that was a night game. I remember that because I was actually at Red Lobster with my at the time girlfriend. And we were at Red Lobster and I was watching the game on the TV next to there was like a TV next to the bar, like on the side. Bro, I was watching that game, bro. That was crazy. That was Sam Ellinger game. That was Sam Ellinger's freshman year.
What who was the running back that went off against
was it Deontay Foreman?
It might have been Foreman.
It was either Deontay or it was
TJ Warren.
TJ Warren.
TJ Warren.
Yeah, people forget how big
that year. They also had he had like 253.
TJ Warren ran big, bro. That dude was
huge. I hate that he got injured in the NFL because I think he would have been.
He was so good. He was so good. But yeah,
back.
I do think Texas loses to Kansas, by the way. Kansas State, not Kansas.
Yeah, I think again, I just think in that type of situation, cold November, I think that's one of the games where people are gonna say, "Oh, Texas is supposed to win this game. They're gonna blow them out big," and then it just implodes. Boom.
I just don't think we could say Texas should win a lot of these games, right? They should. The 2 games they should win, or the 4 games they should win, are obviously Saturday,
right?
UTSA,
right?
Texas Tech,
right?
West Virginia, and Kansas. Those are the 5 that they should win,
right?
I mean, that's basically your record last year,
right?
You lose any of those 5, shit. We got bigger problems.
Sark's gonna have a hard time.
So yeah, he's gonna have a hard time.
Sark's only saving grace is Arch Manning, honestly, at that point.
If he lasts that long. I feel like if you lose to a Kansas again, or if you lose to like Texas Tech and Texas Tech has just lost like 2-3 games in a row by like 30, like yeah, bro. Like you can't. I don't know who Texas Tech plays, but they're still rebuilding. They're not very good.
Right. They have a hell of an offensive. They got a hell of a recruiting class.
Sure. Yeah, but still a bunch of freshmen though.
Yeah, it is still a bunch of freshmen.
Right. Okay. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I see that. But yeah, I think Texas goes 8-5 this year.
Oh, 8-5?
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
Well, that's basically winning all 5 of those games. And then pick 3 essentially. I think they beat Oklahoma.
Okay.
I think they beat Iowa State.
Okay.
And they think they beat TCU. And they lose the rest.
Okay.
Lose to Baylor, lose to Kansas State, lose to Oklahoma State.
Okay.
Lose to shit, that's it.
Yeah.
That's a little bit bigger. They should lose 2 more. Oh, Alabama.
Okay.
And then they lose to Iowa State.
You're gonna have them lose to Iowa State?
Yeah, because they're gonna come off the high off beating Oklahoma, and they're gonna fumble a game. Texas always fumbles a game.
Okay, that's fair.
Now if they don't fumble a game, then that's 9 wins, right? Or that's 10 wins or 9 wins.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there you go. Hey, I think 8-5 is a successful season. It's a step in the right direction. I think Texas fans can finally relax and say, all right, we might have some stability here.
Right.
But I think there's a 3 or 4 game stretch in the middle of this that's very important.
Yeah.
That's UTSA, Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma is a very important stretch of this season,
right.
Honestly.
Yeah, so, they got to win out October. You got to win out. You can't.
You got to. Yeah.
You can't fumble any games.
So easy.
It's very easy to do.
Yeah, every single game is winnable except that very last game in October, which is Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And also, they play Kansas State. The other interesting thing is they play Oklahoma State. They get a bye, and then they play Kansas State.
Right.
So that's very interesting right there. So we'll keep something to keep an eye out on. But
very interesting. Again, like I said, it's very easy for me to go 9-3 to 8-5. Like like the error, the margin for error is this small when it comes to the University of Texas. So hopefully they do something with that defense. Hopefully they are able to put a complete game together and learn from that and build on top of that, right?
They'll start off every single game really well.
Yeah,
If they could start to put together games, this could be a special season.
right.
But they got to put together games.
Yeah, like realistically, what I'm looking for is like I'm not expecting Texas to win every single game. I don't think you are because you got them 8-5.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for is cohesiveness, right? Can we build a complete game? Can you play a complete game? Can you stay in these games? Can you not give up leads? Can you create turnovers? Can you make some defensive get some defensive pressures because the defensive backs are not the strongest bunch of the team. So like let's see what we can do with that, and then let's build on top of that and add on to that and just build towards the future. So
also key bench Keandre Coburn. Like those are, I mean, there's a lot of things they got to do.
like, you just don't like that kid.
I don't, bro. I don't think he's that good. Like, give me Alfred Collins, give him Byron Murphy, and go find some other dude. But fine, give Keandre Coburn like 5% of the snaps. I don't really care. But yeah. Nope. I have no faith in that kid.
Sorry. All right. So we're on the SEC. when I did this one, I was like, oh yeah, there's only 2 teams that I really care about in regards to maybe a third. I got one dark horse there, and that's it.
Who's your dark horse?
Florida.
Oh, okay.
The only dark horse that I have there. Sorry, Aggies. I don't believe that the Aggies will be there. I think the Aggies are just like the University of Texas. They could either go easily 9-3, or they could go 8-5, just like the University of Texas. I think we're kind of in the same boat. We got enough. A&M has stupid talent, right? On paper, they look fantastic, right? Texas looks fantastic on paper, but it's just about putting that stuff together. And I think this year they just don't do it. I do not believe in their quarterback.
Who is their quarterback? Is it Max Johnson?
It's not. It might be Max Johnson.
Is that the LSU guy?
It might be Max Johnson. I forget.
This guy sucks.
But they don't have a straight up starter. They don't. They have not named the starter from what I've understood. They have not named a starter. And with that being said, if you haven't named a starter by this time, and they may have, I don't know, but from the last time I looked into it tough, which was like 2 or 3 days ago, they didn't have a starter then. So if they don't have a starter now, I don't believe that they have a confident, like they don't know who they want to have in that realm. And they got a pretty big couple of weeks. The first couple of games that A&M have is going to be pretty tough, and they're going to have to figure it out very, very soon, just like the University of Texas. But the SEC championship is easily Alabama, Georgia. I don't see Georgia winning, so I have Alabama. The only reason why I have Alabama winning this year is simply because of their defensive line. That defensive line, bro.
Yeah, and then Will Anderson, right behind him. Yeah.
That defensive line and Will Anderson is.
I'm scared. I'm very terrified for that one.
Yeah. I am petrified.
Yeah.
Because the University of Texas is gonna have 3 freshmen on that offensive line going up against that defense. And I'm not talking about the defensive backs, guys. I'm not talking about the safeties. I'm talking about the defensive
trenches.
line.
Yeah.
The trenches. That is going, if you have a defensive line, and Georgia can show you, because Georgia did it last year, they basically waltzed into that championship game, and they straight up demolished that offensive line. And that Alabama offensive line, if I'm not mistaken, they had 2 or maybe even 3 offensive linemen get drafted in the top 50.
Georgia did, yeah.
The entire defensive line for Georgia pretty much.
They
pretty much went top 10 or top 20. But
they're all high, yeah.
I think it's going to reverse. Georgia has the easiest way to get back to the Georgia has the easiest to get back to the actual college football playoff. The only threat that I believe that they have outside of Alabama is maybe Florida, and that's my dark horse, of course. But I think when it comes to defensive line and what they have to do defensively, I think Alabama just kind of takes the cake this year, just strictly off of the defensive line. It was really hard because I did want to pick Georgia, right? Because of course, like you want to see, like everybody likes to see the mighty fall, right? So when like Alabama lost, like everybody was like spazzing out. But I just don't see them losing the SEC championship this year. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So I got Alabama winning. I don't have them winning big, but I have that defensive line making the biggest. They have the best defensive line in college football this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll take Alabama versus Georgia, and I'll take Alabama over Georgia.
I think honestly,
I think it's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah. It's just that one. I think it's the easiest one. I mean, I think Florida again. I do have like a dark horse. I think Florida does kind of linger around there. Again, I just don't think Alabama. I don't think A&M has it yet to put it together. They may mess around. They could possibly shock Alabama again, but I don't see that happening with that defensive line. So with that being said,
my dark horse is Tennessee.
Okay.
I think Tennessee, Hendon Hooker is back, healthy. That guy is kind of like one of those big arm dudes.
Right.
Your accuracy doesn't really need to matter in the college because wide receivers go get anything.
Right.
So just a big arm dude. Brew McCoy obviously transfers to Tennessee. Now does he actually play? I hope so.
They say he's been cleared to play.
Yeah. They've got some solid wide receivers. Jalen Hyatt is another guy that's coming back. Jimmy Callaway. They got their senior running back. I think he's a senior. Yeah, Lyndon Dixon. That offense is going to be good. That's a good offense.
Yeah. They may stun some people.
I do like Tennessee. So I'm not saying Tennessee's going to, win 10 games or anything, but I do think that that Tennessee Florida game this year is going to be very interesting.
That's going to be very, very good.
As Tennessee LSU, they have that 3-game stretch. They go to home to Florida,
right,
to LSU,
right,
and then come back home to Alabama.
Right.
I think we'll learn a lot. They also play Georgia. That's the only problem with Tennessee is they play a tough schedule.
Yeah, they got a rough schedule.
But I just think that I think they end the season pretty strong. That if they can go 2-1 in that Alabama, Florida, LSU, like that little 3-game stretch, and then they play Pitt, right? In Pittsburgh. That's a 2:30 game next week. That'll be a very good game to watch. If they can split that at least 2-2, 3-1. If they go 3-1, that's a dangerous team.
If they go 3-1, now we're talking about could these guys potentially squeeze in there?
Yep.
And
in the end, right?
It possibly be a three-team college football playoff with maybe, I don't know, maybe Ohio State getting in there.
Right.
Like squeeze this up. I don't know.
That'll be interesting.
It gets real dicey if Tennessee is able to pull it off, but that schedule is
it's rough. Yeah. That's why I don't think it'll happen. But I really like Tennessee and the SEC.
Okay.
As a dark horse.
Before we get to our college football picks, I was talking to you before we started recording. I just want to give me one bold prediction. It could be about anything in college football. Give me one bold prediction that you have this year.
A wide receiver wins the Heisman.
Damn, dude, are you serious?
Jackson Higbee Nigba from Ohio State wins the Heisman Trophy.
Dog.
Was that yours?
Bro, okay. Well, hear me out.
Because that was definitely mine.
Hear me out. Hear me out. My bold prediction is that it is not the guy that behind you that goes to be a Heisman finalist.
You
It's
think he wins Heisman?
no, I don't.
Oh,
It's not him. It's not him that goes to the.
Xavier Worthy?
I think it's Xavier Worthy, dog.
Wow.
I think it's Xavier Worthy,
It's
bro.
not him.
It's not. It's no. He doesn't go this year.
Wow. So if both of our predictions come true, there'll be two wide receivers that are finalists.
Yeah, I think Xavier Worthy is a finalist. I don't think he's gonna win it, but
Right.
I like
As a sophomore finalist,
yeah,
bro,
I think
crazy.
Xavier Worthy ends up being like
Okay.
one of the finalists to be there.
Wow.
I think Bijan has a great shot to be there, but for some reason, I think honestly, even though like we know Bijan's gonna get the rock, right? We know he's gonna get 25 touches throughout the
Yeah.
we're hoping that he gets at least 20, 25 touches because I believe in order for Texas to win those games, and for me, just being playing football and kind of understanding like you have to get the ball into the best players on the field. And that
Yeah.
guy that is on your background is honestly one of the best players on the field. But for some reason, I just feel like there's going to be opportunities where Sark is just going to air that motherfucker out. And I think it's going to be a lot of touchdowns to Worthy, Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy has like 14 touchdowns this year. I think he gets almost 100 catches this year. I think he has more than 1,500 yards, or I think he has around 1,500 yards all purpose in regards to just like throughout the year. I really think he has this. I think he has a crazy year. I think it's fair. I think that it is I think it is very reasonable. And if everybody is healthy and they're spreading the ball around, like you're not going to be able to just sit on top of Xavier Worthy. You're not going to be able to do that because you're going to have Jordan Whittington. You're going to have Bijan. You got two stud tight ends. Sark just said last week that Jatavian Sanders has the best hands in the receiving core, like and on the team, and he's a tight end. So
he said that, but I've heard some concerns about Jatavian Sanders.
You muted yourself.
Again, sorry. I've heard that there's some concern that Sark even gets Jatavian Sanders even gets the ball enough in this system to show his worth. Because Sark doesn't use a lot of tight ends in his passing game.
Understood.
So there is now. Does that change? And does Sark, evolutionize and realize, hey, if I can give Jatavian Sanders the ball 40, 50 times this year, imagine the weapon that he can add I don't want to see to me personally, I don't want to see Jatavian just line up and go run routes. Right. I want to see him line up wide and go run routes. Right. I want to see him go line up in the slot. I want to see him kind of everywhere in the field, right? I don't want him just to be like, 3 tight end sets. You're going to go your 4-point stance and you're going to go fucking run a streak route. Like, that's not what I want to see him like Travis Kelce this shit. Give me some. I want to see tight end screens. Like the screen that we see with Worthy all the time, those little wide receivers. I want to see a tight end screen.
Right.
I want to see Sark make a valid effort to get him the ball.
Well, I will say this. I do believe that Sark will open up the playbook this year. I think
he has to.
Honestly, I think he has the listen. I voiced my opinion about Hudson Card last week. I definitely think he has some issues with the deep ball. Anything intermediate, I think he's perfectly fine. But one thing we do know about Quinn Ewers is that he can throw the deep ball. We do know that. Yeah. That is one of his strong points. He can flick the ball. We've seen it. We saw it. When he was at practice, Xavier Worthy threw a skinny post or he ran a skinny post and Ewers just kind of flicked it and the ball was out. And it was a
Dude, it
beautiful
was so
ball.
beautiful.
It was a beautiful ball.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy ran right up under it, caught it in the back of the end zone. Nobody else could get it. It was away from the defense, and it was a thing of beauty. I think that they have an opportunity to do the same thing. However, I just believe that Xavier Worthy is the most explosive of those guys. He may not have the best hands, but I think
Right.
he's the most explosive. And if Isaiah Nail was there,
If Isaiah Nair was there, I'd say Texas is probably going to win the Big 12.
right.
That's how big of an impact I think he is.
Right. I also think we do have Brennan Thompson there. He's a freshman as well. I think there's gonna be
There's talent.
There's a lot of love right there.
There's definitely talent.
Right. So now that we've gone off of our little tangent here and had our bold predictions, we both picked wide receivers to basically a dominant wide receiver Heisman finalist because they have quite a few receivers there already. So you don't think CJ Stroud is going to, do you think CJ Stroud will be?
I'm not a CJ Stroud fan, so no. I think his receivers make him.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. And that's fair.
Yeah.
I think Xavier Worthy gets there. I don't think he wins it, but I think he definitely gets there. So now we got our 4. Who's in? Tell me who your 4 is and tell me who the matchups are and who eventually wins the national championship.
I think Ohio State will be number 1.
Okay.
Alabama will be 2.
Okay.
USC will be 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then Oklahoma State will be 4.
Okay.
And then I don't think it matters. Alabama, Ohio State, obviously in the title game. Mm-hmm. I think Ohio State wins the whole thing.
Wow, Ohio State. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Again, we both went on at numbers and at length about the talent about Ohio State and how much offensive firepower they have. For me, I have coming in at number 1, I have Ohio State. Number 2, I have At number 1, I have Alabama. At number 2, I have Ohio State. At number 3, I have who did I? Let me see what I picked. At number 3, I'm playing Homer. I have Clemson, and at number 4, I have Utah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, 1 versus 4. Alabama versus Utah. I think Alabama, too much defense. They take care of Utah. Ohio State versus Clemson. Ohio State gets that get back. I think they absolutely destroy Clemson. And it's Ohio State. Ohio State versus Alabama. And because of that defensive line, I honestly believe that Alabama's going to win it again. Off of sheer defensive line alone, defensive presence. Again, I kind of feel like, again, it's just like, it's the same thing where the defense kind of takes over, just like Georgia did last year. And it was real early. We were like, all right, Georgia's defense is pretty fucking serious. This could be something real serious. I feel like this is going to be the same, and they won't be carried by their offense. I think it'll be the defense that carries them to the national championship this year.
Yeah, my only problem with that Alabama-Georgia game, and I'm not surprised Georgia won. Devonta Smith wasn't there. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, he was.
Devonta Smith got hurt. Jameson,
Michi got hurt.
Yeah, Michi got hurt.
Yeah,
Devontae Smith got hurt. Jameson Williams got hurt.
Right.
If Alabama had all 3 of those guys, I think that's a different game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't think it's a blowout, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think Alabama probably wins that game.
You think so?
Yeah. Look, no Jameson Williams and no Malachi, right?
Right.
You could put your entire secondary on fucking Jameson they put their entire secondary on Devonta Smith.
Right.
What do they have to do? They don't have to block anybody. Just go get that guy. The rest of you guys go do this.
Right. But I also believe if you're running for your life, though, and you're not able to make the throws, that's the thing. That's the thing about having a dope defensive line. That's why I believe.
Sure. You're also biased because you played defensive line. So
I mean, but
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying you do
no,
have a bias to it too.
I do have a little bit of because I mean, if your offensive line and you have a quarterback that's basically running for his life,
Sure.
and he's not able to get the ball out.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be completely like Bryce Young did not look that great in that game.
Sure.
And he was able to get the ball off. I'm not saying that he wasn't, but he was running for his life that second half.
Absolutely.
He was running for his life and he was getting trashed. They were beating, he was beat up.
Yeah. But when you have a multitude of receivers, you're not just relying on 4 routes from one receiver. You have a bunch of different ways to get rid of that ball quickly before that defensive line has a chance to get there.
That's
What's
true.
The best thing that you can do to beat a blitz is any type of screen or RPO.
That is true.
And you have options to do that. I'm not saying Georgia wouldn't have beaten Alabama, but they wouldn't have gotten blown out the way they did.
Yeah, I don't think they would have gotten blown up.
And that's just what I'm saying. That's why, and I think, yeah, Alabama would have 3 receivers. Ohio State has like 6 good receivers. Like those dudes are stacked.
That is true. That is true. They are.
So
stacked.
that's just my own. I think it's a close game. I just think there's just too much power.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, did you happen to have anything before we wrap this up?
No, I'm ready for next week when we do NFL predictions. I got some spicy shit.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's crazy shit.
Definitely let us know what you think. It is again, football is here. We're at week 1 now. Week 0 is behind us. The preseason games are all played. We got NFL predictions next week. This is gonna be a doozy. I'm struggling as a Cowboys fan. I have to be realistic, even though I did hear a little bit of glimpse of hope that they're looking at. They have brought Jason Peters into the building. He's currently talking with Jerry Jones.
Okay.
So Jason Peters, surefire Hall of Famer. He's been in the league for forever. He anchored that Eagles line and has had, God, man, he's had so many. He's been in the league for quite a while, and he's been a thorn in a lot of my Cowboys' asses.
How long is Tyron out for?
They're saying that he's going to be out until December.
Oh, shit. That's basically the whole season.
Basically. So I'm hoping that we're able to make a sign. We get Jason Peters in there. That'd be really great. Because that just shows up. You want to save your moneymaker. Your quarterback is your moneymaker. Your moneymaker also on the offensive line is the left tackle because he protects your quarterback's ass. So we'll hold off for that until next week for sure. I don't really have anything. You guys make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hurry, Gandhi, give us your socials.
The Uncle Gandhi and everything.
Facts, big facts. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter, so you can find me at Tim Wayne all together. Make sure you guys enjoy the games, man. Enjoy the games. Let us know who you represent, who you think is going to win the national championship, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube. Give us a shout. Let us know how you feel. Tell us that we're stupid or wrong for our picks. Just let us know how you feel. Y'all be safe out there, and we'll see you when we see you. Peace.